Lukaku, as you know, very recently, well, a month ago, he gave an interview in which he said that he didn't really suit the system. He basically wasn't. He missed Inter Milan. Chelsea wasn't his first choice, and so on. To what extent? And it kind of touches upon player power and player influence. Are players mercenaries nowadays? And is it up to Lukaku, I suppose, to be more pertinent to our City discussion? Is it up to Lukaku to adapt? Or should he throw a strop like that?
Well, he probably... I don't know if it was necessarily throwing a strop. I guess it was just him being honest about what he felt. And if that's how he feels, then fine. But to be honest with you, I think he was put in quite an awkward situation. Like, if a club comes in looking to spend 100 million... or whatever it was, on just one player, then it's kind of difficult for a club like Inter Milan, even as rich Inter Milan is, because I know they are they are within the top 20, rich, most financially well-off clubs in world football, but still £100 million for one player, that's not really something that you can refuse. And also, I could have sworn that Lukaku was actually pretty hyped about going back to Chelsea.
Seemed so, yeah.
So at the same time, I don't really know what to think of it, to be honest, because on the one hand, it's not really his choice, because I don't think he had any part in the 100 million figure. But at the same time, it probably was maybe a little bit his choice.
That's a good point, though. Your point about him being honest. We do like honesty, and
personally,
is
I
rare
like that
nowadays.
Yeah.
I like the honesty, but it's just by being honest, he threw Chelsea under the bus.
That sort of ties back into player respect for the officials, but in this case for the club that they're playing for, right, and fans. I guess the question is, should he have given that interview and blindsided Chelsea? And the answer is no. He probably shouldn't. He should probably have, while still being honest, given the interview in conjunction with people at Chelsea to work through it and decide, how can he say what he wants to say and be honest whilst not throwing the club under the bus and not pissing off the fans. If you're going to annoy your own fans, you're not going to last at a club very long. And £100 million is a lot to spend on a player who you're not going to play or who is going to leave the next year.
Few clubs could afford to spend that much on a player and not start him a lot. Chelsea can afford to. They brought Timo Werner in. Two clubs that can, new money clubs you could say, who can afford to spend that much on a player and not necessarily get it right. Whereas Liverpool, for example, don't have that budget, so every player they bring in has to work, really.
No, but even actually, no, I disagree with you there. Even clubs like Liverpool, like Manchester United, hell, clubs elsewhere in Europe, like Juventus, like Barcelona, like Real Madrid, these are clubs that do have a lot of money and have had a lot of money for a long time, so they can still very much afford to make those sort of rubbish transfer decisions. Like, who knows, the 70 million or whatever figure on Van Dijk, that could have completely backfired, and it could have been a case that you'd be using Joel Matip mostly instead. It is ultimately a bit of a flip of the coin. To be able to afford to, spend £100 million on a flip of a coin is not something many clubs have, but Chelsea do have that, and they've done it in this case, and it clearly isn't going quite so well. I don't know if that's necessarily Lukaku's fault, because maybe it's just him voicing more of his discontent with just the working environment. And if that's that's maybe not necessarily on him.
I think it's a mixture of faults, really.
Well, there's two sides to every story, and that's the issue, right?
I don't know how it came to this that I'm defending Lukaku here, but
it can't all be on one person. Like, if someone's unhappy at a club, there's a reason they're unhappy. Equally, you've got to be, to an extent, professional, right? You can't go around just blasting the club while you're there. You're going to annoy people, and you have to have a degree of professionability. Yeah. I think he should have been honest in his interview. I just think that the interview could have been handled better, and he could have worked with the club to sort of damage control going into that, because he obviously knew what he wanted to go in and say.
He is a bit of a power play, isn't it? Like, it's definitely a way to prompt change.
Yeah. What irks me is that he said that, but he also kisses the Chelsea badge not long after when he scores a goal. It feels disingenuous. I don't know I'm sure he loves the club, that's for sure. But then, the interview just blows open like a hornet's nest that he didn't really know existed. I like the honesty again, but surely he would have had some intelligence, or he or his agent should have thought, maybe not this.